Good afternoon. You may have come to the World of Learning exhibition looking for innovative new learning and development solutions, the latest fashions in learning, the best digital platforms, or new advances in AI that will change the way we learn forever. And if you didn't take much notice as you wandered in, it's difficult not to, but you might have to brace yourself for disappointment, because what I'm here to talk about is a learning method that's been around for eons, practiced by every living being since day dot, the method that has helped us all learn to walk, talk, grow, and develop as human beings. Experience. Not digital or virtual experiences, but face-to-face, real-life human experience, and why that matters in today's world, and especially in the world of learning. Perhaps you marched in here with purpose, like me, because you want to hang on to some semblance of human experience, not because you can't evolve or keep pace with change, but because you know the true value of human experience in an increasingly digital world. In the last 3 years, the way we live, work, and consume has been turned on its head. Despite flexible working being a hot topic since way before my time in a working life, before COVID-19, the traditional 9-to-5 office-based schedule hadn't changed that much at all. We've all driven everywhere in rush hour and seen that manifest. The pandemic forced change upon us. Some welcomed the change, others fought against them. But for most organisations wanting to stay operational, there was no other choice than to conform and adapt to a digital environment. In our new remote or hybrid environments, our reliance on technology exploded. Consumers of learning and learning providers were impacted alike. Never had we witnessed such momentum change occur so quickly. We saw major universities move their courses online. In-person training was taught partly digitized or facilitated on virtual platforms, and there were webinars aplenty. People spent much of their days on Zoom. Learners were redirected to learning environments hosted in the cloud. Consequently, learners rapidly grew to appreciate the benefits of communicating and learning online, often in the convenience of their own homes. But the impact on learning and development and the community was significant. Research by Fosway Group reported 94% of L&D professionals changed their L&D strategy in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. 2 out of 3 made significant changes to what they do. 4 out of 5 faced increased demand from stakeholders for digital learning. 71% faced increased demand from the end user for digital learning. And 21% ultimately implemented a new digital learning solution. But we know this already. We experienced it, we navigated through it, and we saw it manifest into the L&D world in which we operate today. So why bring it up? Digital devices now feature so routinely in our hybrid lives that it's little wonder organisations increasingly favour digital over real-life learning solutions. But once this rapid pivot had occurred, the presence of digital and virtual in L&D had increased exponentially, and the workplace readjusted to life post-COVID. What was the response? And what does the new horizon look like? The latest Learning at Work survey by the CIPD shows that L&D practitioners who embrace technology and apply a broad range of technologies to support learning in its widest context are most likely to report positive organisational change. There's a critical phrase in that report. Technology is a tool to support learning. Like many tools available to L&D practitioners, it has many benefits, namely probably cost and efficiency. But we are presented with significant risk if the world of L&D charges towards a new horizon, one that is cost effective, accessed anywhere, anytime, tracked and monitored in granular detail, and that departs entirely from experience, connection, and human interaction. This not so slow extinction of face-to-face learning comes at a cost. Digital fatigue harms performance, productivity, creativity, relationships, well-being, and learning. Too often, digital solutions over-rely on learners being able to shift from an always-on mindset to a learning mindset. And despite digital collaboration tools providing a practical means of communication, they are unlikely to replicate the cognitive connections that are made in person. Further, Twilio's State of Customer Engagement report, and I don't think we have to make a huge leap from learner to customer in this increasingly digital world, demonstrated that 47% of millennials and 42% of Gen Z reported experiencing digital fatigue in the last 30 days. Particularly for these generations, their whole lives operate in an online and digital way. Work streams, project tools, social platforms, chat apps, dating apps, shopping, with a seemingly endless stream of screen time and push notifications. In fact, the report also found 61% of respondents said they sometimes, often, or always disable push notifications. So in a face-to-face environment, this looks like the disengaged learner, disinterested delegate gazing out of the window at the back of the room. A skillful, trained L&D practitioner can engage and inspire and motivate that individual far better than an unread push notification can. Interestingly, Fosway's research also discovered video content was the highest rated content approach, and virtual classrooms and collaborative learning were the most successful in supporting organisations through the pandemic. These highest rated content approaches all have something in common: connection. Face-to-face learning is exciting and challenging. When you are truly engaged in the learning process, you will have questions, you'll have the need for someone to show you how to do it on the spot. To have real-time interaction with L&D practitioners, as well as a connected and shared learning experience with peers, you can understand better and faster. Human beings thrive in spaces where they can interact over a common topic, share ideas, and build relationships. We believe human connection and experience is critical to a successful L&D approach that results in real positive organisational change. Fosway's research demonstrated the best digital learning approaches, video and collaborative learning, are an attempt to replicate, duplicate, or engineer that environment in a digital one. We know there's no significant substitute for the real thing. But you don't have to just take our word for it. Melody Hosseini, CEO of Inspire Engage International, an expert on mindset and people development, says that as we rapidly advance in the fifth industrial revolution, it's essential we invest in a human-centered approach. Businesses and workplaces yearn for human skills, such as complex problem solving, emotional intelligence, and negotiation. The L&D space becomes an increasingly important space. The answer as to why in-person learning is more important than ever lies exactly in the nature of in-person contact, the human nature, the connection, and the interaction. Melody says you can't most effectively encourage the development of human skills in a non-human interaction way. It's that simple. The 2023 LinkedIn Workplace Learning Report found the top training topics for managers in 2023 was leadership and management. Undoubtedly, those interpersonal, connected and interactive content we've been talking about already. These skills topped the list, ahead and beating even digital upskilling. The report also found that most organisations, 83%, seek a people-centric future, one that recognises that organisational success depends on people's success. And the simple truth guides the design and development and implementation of learning programmes, one which we believe face-to-face firmly remains a fixture. The end goal of L&D in organisations is knowledge retention for positive impact. We aim to upskill employees, help them absorb new knowledge, process it for future applications, to ultimately have a positive impact in the organisation in the future. However, if your employees are already bogged down with their day-to-day responsibilities, they're suffering digital fatigue and muting their push notifications, and may find it challenging to retain new information for an extended period of time. According to Ebbinghaus's forgetting curve, humans are not very good at remembering things beyond the event. The fading of learning depends on several factors, one of those being how meaningful it is to the person. We argue again, there is no significant substitute for face-to-face, in-person events that allow learners to apply their learning in the real world and make the content meaningful for them, therefore improving retention substantially. The human brain finds it hard to memorise things that seem unrelated or irrelevant, and therefore it's beneficial to create a learning environment that is directly applicable to your learners' working lives, helps them understand how skills, behaviours and topics will impact their work. As a result, learning retention is much more likely. A face-to-face environment gives us this opportunity to improve this space and in turn challenge learners to be active participants by encouraging them to discover the usefulness of concepts that they are studying for themselves. This allows learners to see the benefits and the consequences of taking particular actions in a risk-free environment before applying their new skills in their real world. But what about the real world? What about this new real world, the future real world? According to the World Economic Forum, in 2020, 50% of all employees will need reskilling by 2025, so we're past halfway. Forbes' article, The Top 10 In-Demand Skills for 2030, states that critical skills for the future workforce include creativity, problem solving, and emotional intelligence. Coming up with new ways of doing things, solving problems in an imaginative way, and imagining how things could be changed for the better. These will all be important to many jobs in 2030, and it's unlikely they'll be taken on by AI. As the pace of change accelerates, business and organisations are likely to find themselves thrown into new and unfamiliar situations with growing frequency. This means those individuals who are able to think outside the box will be necessary for developing innovative solutions as those challenges arise. The learning environment that enables delegates to practice and hone these skills in a safe space with expert facilitation and colleagues to support and to share with is critical to developing exceptional skill sets that will have long-term positive impacts. Emotional intelligence isn't a personality trait. It's a skill set that can be honed and developed in order to become better at understanding how an individual's emotional response impacts their abilities and the way that they work. Learning to take a person's thoughts and feelings into consideration is something that will be very difficult for machines to ever replicate. This skill set includes developing empathy, the ability to step into another person's shoes and see the world from their point of view, behaviours that should be practiced in a real-world setting. And crucially, in Forbes' report, leadership skills. Good leadership involves the very human ability to identify strengths and weaknesses in order to bring out the best in people. Importantly, it means that as well as achieving success, it's done in a way that enables everyone to grow, develop, and thrive. Individuals that are able to demonstrate these leadership qualities will find themselves immensely valuable and always appreciated. We believe it's critical that these skills are developed, nurtured, and grown in a safe space with expert facilitators to steer and support delegates and colleagues and peers to share the learned experience and create lasting and impactful interventions. Highly memorable, staying in my life's memory, making a difference, really made a mark on me. Much value to the organisation and to life. And the Ashorne Hill experience is like nothing I've ever experienced before. Andy Lancaster, the head of learning at the CIPD, said that COVID-19 forced learning practitioners to address key organisational needs, particularly new ways of working and digital skills. Post-pandemic, the focus must remain on key drivers and skills underpinning organisational performance. To achieve this, learning professionals must engage in consultative discussions, leverage data and insights, and foster innovative approaches to provide accessible learning solutions. Perhaps the regeneration of face-to-face learning fit for a digital world could provide the answer. Thank you. Thank you for your time. Thank you for listening. Ashorne Hill, myself and my colleagues are at stand E130 and welcome the discussion to continue there if you're happy to join us. Thank you.